strategic changes and intentionality, I could be a whole new person, right? And so that really prompted me to learn more and to really pursue sleep as my specialty. And, even though I am a pediatrician and a pulmonologist as well, really my focus over the last few years has really been building this awareness of how important sleep is in the health of women, in the health of parents, and as well as in the health of children.
Wow. Wow. Well, I know that many of us are not familiar with some of the common terms like sleep hygiene. Can you break down what that means in layman's terms?
Oh, that's a great, great question. So, I even personally don't like the term sleep hygiene because when
Mm.
you talk about hygiene, it kind of sounds like, cleanliness. So is it that I'm not like,
Wash my
cleanly
sheets?
washing my sheets because I don't sleep well, but you know what? This is just really a set of habits and practices that help set you up for sleep success. So I call them, healthy sleep habits. And really it's about paying attention to what we're doing and how it impacts our sleep. And so there's so many things out there that really come under that umbrella of sleep hygiene, right? Like what are you doing before bed? The devices. What are you drinking? What are you eating? What are you doing in bed? What are you doing during the day? All those things end up impacting your sleep at night. And so one of the things I talk about is that restful sleep habits start during the day, right? It's
Mm.
not just about you getting into bed and expecting sleep to come. It's really being intentional about the activities and the habits that you've built in place that will help you get the sleep you need.
Okay. That
Mm.
makes a lot of sense. And I do think I actually looked up the word hygiene before, and it doesn't specifically mean cleanliness, but that's how we usually use it. So it
Yes.
does, the word means habits or practices that promote health, such
Mm.
as cleanliness. But since we don't usually use it that way, it is confusing to people. So yeah, healthy sleep habits. I'll start using that in my primary care practice instead of saying sleep hygiene, because people are probably walking away confused. Well, apparently, studies show that Black women often face specific challenges that can affect their sleep, like racial disparities, caregiving responsibilities, workplace challenges, and you mentioned some of them even for yourself.
Mm.
How can we address some of these challenges to ensure better sleep outcomes for Black women?
I think there are multiple layers to this. I think to even start, it's not fair that we place this on
Mm,
African American women to start with. I mean, I think we as Black women have our own responsibility. We have our roles to play. But, when we're looking at this, we have to look at it from the context of a Black woman is not in isolation, right? She comes with responsibilities. She comes with very unique challenges. So there are many layers to it. So I think even to start with is raising an awareness of sleep health, raising an awareness of what it is and how sleep actually impacts a woman's ability to be her best self. And I think that's really important just to even help make that connection between sleep and our overall well-being. And then the next thing I would say, like I said, we really have to take this in context, is to think that woman probably has a job that she has to go to. She has kids she has to take care of. She has, aging parents as well. And
right.
so really advocating for workplace policies that support that support that work-life balance. Yes, maybe there's no true balance. Maybe it's some kind of integration. But what does
Right.
that look? Flexible work hours, maybe remote work support, maybe more affordable child care and elder care accommodations for the caregivers and things like that. So, all those things really end up playing a big role. And then another thing that I would also say is community support.
Mm,
Because many times on this journey, as women, as moms, as women in the workplace, entrepreneurs, whatever it is we're doing, we sometimes feel so lonely because we're so busy just running that race. But really creating communities, right, where women can feel empowered to share some of their struggles and to destigmatize that interaction between, that interaction between sleep and mental health in and of itself, to say, listen, there are support, there are resources available to you. You are not alone. And I think we really then are able to share from each other's experiences. And, on an individual level, like I said, yes, we're not going to put all that pressure on the woman, but
Right.
she does have her role to play. And it's really about those, those healthy sleep habits that we talk about, right? Making sure that bedtime routines are followed, making sure that there are stress reduction practices that are incorporated. Even if you have that busy day, even if you feel overwhelmed, that you have places that you can create that routine for yourself. You can sort of distress before bed. You can sort of, make sure that you're winding down appropriately. So, there's so many elements to it, but I think when we're able to cohesively bring this together, we'll be able to really promote better sleep health.
And what I'm hearing is like holistic. People think of that a lot of times as like herbs or something, but it's it's holistic. It's multiple different aspects of a person's life.
Yeah.
So just to remind people, you are listening to the Her Health Matters radio show, where we're focusing on uplifting the health and wellness of the African American woman. You're listening to us live on WURD 900 AM, 96.1 FM, and also you can watch on our live stream on communityheropa.com or .org. If you have a question or a comment, please call in at 215-634-8065 or toll free 866-361-0900. You can leave your responses on our Facebook page at Community Hero PA and let us know what you do to get a good night's sleep. Today, we're unraveling the mysteries of sleep with my brilliant and beautiful physician colleague, Dr. Funke Afolabi-Brown, a triple board certified sleep medicine physician. And we are, really reframing how we think about sleep. It's not just a luxury or an indulgence. So we're learning a little bit more about this. So according to one study that was done several years ago, African Americans have a higher prevalence of sleep disorders than other racial or ethnic groups. Poor sleep is linked to numerous physical and mental health outcomes, including mood, cardiovascular, metabolic disorders. Can you tell us a little bit more about this link between sleep disorders and other important health outcomes?
Yeah, so this is a really big problem, I would say. First of all studies across the board, even in children, in women, in men, has shown that a lot of these sleep disorders are more prevalent among African Americans or compared to, white counterparts. And unfortunately, there is a lot of even general health conditions that are more prevalent, right? In the same population. So you can then imagine that risk and those outcomes are just really much worse. So, we could even start from just cognitive function, right? One of the things we know about sleep is that it improves our brain health. How does it do this? It helps with memory consolidation. It helps with problem solving. It helps with, decision making. And every one of this is important for being our best selves, right? So when we don't sleep well, we have impaired cognition. We may start to forget things. We may start to find out that we're having a harder time learning new skills. Mm-hmm. We may start to find out that we're having a hard time making really even minor decisions. You may start to feel like you're frozen, that decision paralysis sometimes. And that's all related to poor sleep, right? And they've looked at studies of this, and what they've seen is one of the roles that the brain does is almost like a cleansing action for us for sleep on our brain, is that sleep has a cleansing action on the brain. So there's a system in our brains. It's called the glymphatic system. It's kind of similar to our body system, which is the lymphatic system. So glymphatic is with a G. And so what that really is responsible for is really essentially helping to get rid of toxic products that are built up on our brain surface over the course of wakefulness, right? So these deposits kind of stay on from the moment you're awake. And so when we get into deep sleep, these channels of the glymphatic system, kind of think of it like your, I don't know, your dishwasher. You kind of close it and these channels just kind of open up to wash off those products. Now, when you don't get enough sleep, or when your sleep is fragmented or is poor or is insufficient, what then happens is those deposits are not able to be cleansed, right? And so they pile up over the surface of the brain. And now they've looked at research in Alzheimer's and dementia literature and really looked at what are those deposits that are on the brain in those patients, and it's the same. It's beta amyloid. So it's one of those things that can actually contribute to a risk of developing those kind of conditions. So really, even on the short term and definitely on the long term, sleep affects our memory, it affects our cognition and things like that. So that's just one.
Wow.
Yeah.
What you're saying is that when you are not getting adequate sleep, the regular things you have to, you're already busy. Now it's going to be more difficult for you to get those things done. And you're more at risk for Alzheimer's disease. That's pretty, significant. I don't think most of us see sleep that way. We might be seeing it more like a luxury. But we have a caller. We have Lynn from Darby who's called in. Let's see if we can get her on the line and take her question. Hi.
Hi. Greetings, ladies. It's so nice that somebody addressed this program. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. This has been on my mind. Dr. Brown, I have 3 questions. I'm going to sneak them in real quick. First of all, the most important is, what is today's treatment for narcolepsy? And could you recommend a good doctor? And I recently became a grandmom, and I want to give my daughter some advice on how to get her sleep while the baby is sleeping. And she just doesn't pay attention to me. And, this is a statement. Since I retired 5 years ago, I find myself getting up like about 4 o'clock in the morning, and I can't stand it. But I have no control. I just get up and start my day, and then like in the afternoon, I take a nap, and I find it's like very healthy for me. I'm more on the ball more, but I have to have that nap, and I'm 62 years young. So I just said, I guess that's the life of a retiree. But that narcolepsy question, Doctor, could you address that? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lynn, for calling in with your multifaceted, and we cover a lot of topics if we address all those, but I'm sure there are other people with similar questions. So want to take a stab at it?
Yeah. I think I heard 2 for sure, or maybe I heard 3. I want to just, I'll take one at a time. So the question about narcolepsy. So really, what is narcolepsy? I think it's important to start with that. So narcolepsy is a condition where you have an uncontrollable urge to sleep despite sufficient hours of sleep at night. And it's a neurological condition. So it's a brain condition. And it really typically presents maybe around the teen years. You also see people in another group, another big spike we see in people in about their 30s. And it's also associated or related to other things, like we call this condition called cataplexy. And what is cataplexy? It's really when you have the sudden loss of tone, when you're triggered by strong emotion. Someone makes you laugh and you feel very clumsy. You may actually fall, or you feel a part of your body get loose. Another thing that you see associated with it is hallucination. So really seeing things and hearing things just before bed. And then you also have what we call sleep paralysis, which is very scary. A lot of people have experienced it, where you feel like you're awake, but your whole body seems paralyzed, and it's really scary. And then finally, we have what you call disrupted night sleep. So even though you get a lot of sleep, your sleep actually seems fragmented. And so this whole combination of things, there are really actually 5 things in it, or 4 or 5. In some types of narcolepsy, it's 4, and in some it's 5. Sorry, I'm being a bit granular.
Yeah, this is important though. The main thing the first thing you said though, I don't know how you diagnose anyone, because you said you've got to be getting enough hours of sleep to even get diagnosed. I'm like, oops.
So ideally you should, exactly. So how do you make a diagnosis of narcolepsy? Because one thing I hear, and I really want to take this opportunity to dispel a myth, is when people see people, sleeping all over, really sleepy, some people say, oh, he's probably narcoleptic. That is not true. You actually do need to make a diagnosis, because there's so many other things that can make you sleepy. So it's really important to make sure, do you have narcolepsy? And the way we test it is through a test called a sleep study, where you come into a sleep center, a sleep laboratory. They're all over the US. And you stay overnight, and you get, because we want to see what your overnight sleep is. Like if you're up all night and then in the morning you're asleep, then we know like it's not narcolepsy, right? And then the following day you do what you call a nap test, where we see how easy it is for you to fall asleep and how quickly you fall asleep. And so based on certain criteria, we make that diagnosis. So that's the condition. And it's a big issue in terms of mental health, quality of life, especially to teenagers, and also in people in their 30s, right? The working population. Even though it's not one of the most common sleep disorders, it is actually very underdiagnosed because people think it's so many other things. The best thing to do, you have to be treated by a sleep specialist. This is not something that your general physician can treat. It is not. And so you really partnering with your physician to say, please refer me to a sleep specialist, so that I can get the care that I need. Because when it comes to treatment, there's so many treatment modalities we use for narcolepsy. We use what we call behavioral strategies, which is, you need to do the sleep hygiene. You need to still do those things. We want to make sure you're getting good quality sleep as best as possible. And then there are different medications that we use. We use conventional, what we call stimulants. So think of those stimulants we use in people with ADHD. So Ritalin or amphetamines, all those things are used. And then you have a whole group of other medications, which we call oxybates. Again, these are things that you're not going to get off the shelf. Even if you ask your physician, they might not actually know about them, right? So you have the oxybates, and then you have other medications, wake-promoting agents like modafinil. So you can hear it's complex, and not everybody can fit into one mold. So this is not like, I need to be on modafinil. No, because every person is individualized, which is why you need to seek consultation with a sleep specialist, because they need to know your conditions. They need to know, is there any underlying heart problem? Is there hypertension? Are we struggling with obesity? All those things, all those factors are taken into place before we place you on medications for narcolepsy. So again, it's a huge ordeal, but I hope this kind of helps shed some light about the many facets of it.
Right, it does. And maybe we can kind of, keep the other 2 aspects of her question and comment to see if they get combined with another caller, because we do have another caller who is Rhonda from WURD.
Hi,
Rhonda.
Hello, I am your producer. Doctor, I am so glad you're on here because I have a couple questions. All my life, I have dealt with sleep paralysis. It's gotten better since I'm an adult. Now it only happens like when, I don't know, it rarely happens now, but as a kid it would happen almost every night. Also, I cannot remember my dreams. I remember 2 dreams from when I was a little kid. I have never been able to remember my dreams. What is that about?
Well, there are 2, thanks for asking those questions, Rhonda. There are 2 things that could be happening. If you have sleep paralysis in and of itself, and you're not having any excessive daytime sleepiness or hallucinations or things like that, it's actually relatively common in people who are not getting sufficient sleep. So I think the first place to make sure is that you're getting sufficient sleep. And you know what? Even from childhood, kids are not getting enough sleep. So studies have shown that as high as almost 60% of middle school kids are not sleeping enough. They're getting recommended hours of sleep, which is about 9 to 11 hours of sleep. And high schoolers, over 70% of high schoolers are not getting enough hours of sleep, which is anywhere between 8 and 10 hours of sleep. So, and I see sleep paralysis very, very common in this age group. Because of that, they're not getting enough sleep. And so, of course, adults are not getting enough sleep as well, right? So that's the first thing to tackle, like good quality, sufficient sleep. And I can just use that opportunity to talk about what the different ranges are. So I said, of course, our infants anywhere from 14 to 17 hours, our school age kids anywhere from about 9 to 11 hours, our teenagers 8 to 10 hours, and adults are supposed to get 7 to 9 hours of sleep. And most of us, again, do not. We are living in a sleep-deprived generation. In fact, the CDC declared that insufficient sleep is a public health epidemic. So this is something that's really prevalent. So when it comes to sleep paralysis, that's the first place I usually will say, okay, we got to fix that. We got to make sure you're getting enough sleep and that you're getting good quality sleep as well. And usually, most times when we're able to address that, we're able to resolve it. Now, when it comes to sleep and dreams, it's a really interesting interplay.
Okay, before you go on, let me tell you how long it's been. 54 years that I have not been able to remember my dreams. That's why I can remember 2 from when I was little, because I can't remember any others. So go on.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. I would say there are different reasons why that happens. Not everybody's expected to remember their dreams. And then also, it doesn't mean you're not dreaming. Most times, you're able to remember your dream when you wake up quickly from it. So if you're someone because when dreams occur at certain stages of sleep, and we go through different stages of sleep, we go through what we call light sleep, then we go into deep sleep, and then we go into what we call REM sleep or REM sleep. And REM sleep is also known as dream sleep. And most times we cycle through this throughout the night. So it's not like you had deep sleep at the beginning of the night and then the rest of the night was REM sleep, right? You cycle through. So you go through, starting off, you usually will go through a lot of deep sleep at the beginning of the night. Then you get into light sleep, deep sleep, REM sleep, and then you cycle back and maybe you may wake up briefly, which is what we call an arousal, and then you continue going through those cycles. So if you wake up after your dream sleep, if you have an arousal, you're more likely to, like a fuller arousal, then you're more likely to remember your dream compared to if you're kind of more, maybe a super brief arousal. So that may be a very common reason why. And then, in some situations, of course, I don't know what your medical history is, but sometimes there's some medications that actually suppress REM sleep. In that case, you may not necessarily observe that you're having as many dreams. But those are just some reasons. But I think the important thing is really paying attention to say, how is that impacting me, right? Like, of course, the sleep paralysis, I would say, is very scary. That's something that, really trying to, try to work on, make sure that consistently you're getting enough sleep and that your sleep quality is good. You don't have any underlying sleep disorder. It might be worthwhile just checking in with a sleep physician just to make sure, to rule out anything else, because it's hard to, of course, we're just really giving information here, so I can't necessarily give any specific medical advice, but, just making sure we're not missing anything else that could be contributing.
You gave some important information, though, about how we're like cycling through different phases, so that's really helpful, I think. You're tuned in to the Her Health Matters radio show live with Dr. Safiyya Shabazz on WURD 900 AM, 96.1 FM. Thanks for calling in. As a reminder, the number is 215-634-8065 or toll free 866-361-0900. Leave a comment on our Facebook page at Community Hero PA. We are here with triple board certified sleep physician, Dr. Funke Afolabi-Brown, learning about how to get the most out of our sleep. You took part 1 of the question, but I think, the part 2 of the other caller's question is really important because it kind of centered around sleep environment at home, different things that affect sleep transitions in life, a new baby, there might be other things. Can you address that part of the question? Because I think it's a really common one, and maybe we can help both the caller and a lot of other people who really are struggling as they make these transitions.
Yeah, I am. I'm so happy we get to address that question because, when we talked initially about those sleep challenges with African American women, it is those transitions in life. It's either, you're going from being, single to being married, or, having kids, or, taking care of elderly, or retirement. All those are milestones that impact our mental health, that impact our sleep health, that impact our physical health. So when we think
and
about...
you didn't mention menopause. That's another one that a lot of people...
Oh, my goodness. Yes. Yes. So when you think about this, when you think about bringing a child to the world, I mean, there's significant change in your body, hormonal changes. So usually we hear about the, postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, and just sleep deprivation generally. These are extremely high in moms of newborns, and a lot of it is tightly linked to poor sleep. Another thing that can impact it is the support system around, right? How much support do they have? Because babies, newborns don't sleep at stretches. That is not normal because they're growing very quickly. So they're feeding very quickly because their stomachs are very small. So they're waking up, they're sleeping maybe, 2-3 hours max at a stretch. And if you're a mom who is, alone or is breastfeeding or nursing or things like that, then you're taking care of those needs. You're changing their diaper. You're trying to also put food on the table. So if you think about it, there's really there are 24 hours in the day. So your life is sort of revolving around that baby. So here are some things I recommend. I think depending on, and usually what I recommend when I work with women who are having kids, who are just having kids, is let's set some things up even before the baby arrives. What does that look like? It looks like setting up an environment to optimize your baby's sleep and optimize your sleep. So that's the sort of environmental piece. So, making sure, like, are they going to sleep in a bassinet next to you so that you could feed them real quick? One thing I want to throw in that is what the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends, that parents follow the A, B, C, D of sleep. So a baby should sleep alone on their backs in a crib or bassinet, and there should be no exposure to drugs or smoke or cigarette smoke. So I just wanted to plug that in real quick.
Right.
You should not be co-sleeping with your baby, because think about it, you just had a baby, you are exhausted, your hormones are all over, you are sleep deprived, you may fall asleep while holding the baby, and that increases the risk of sudden infant death syndrome. So that environment piece may not seem big, but it's about safety, it's about what's going to work to promote your mental health and your baby's safety and baby sleep as well. And then another piece that you want to address in that early stage is your tribe. What does your tribe look like? Who is your support system? So that was one of the things we talked about, addressing sleep challenges in women. Right. You need that support system more than ever. Is it a mother? Is it your mom? Is it an in-law? Is it a friend, cousin? Is it a neighbor that's going to come in and just hold that baby while you just gonna get a chance to rest yourself? Build that system in place. Another thing is, around that time, people may ask you what they can do to help you.
Right.
And I usually will ask for, let's do something very practical. We don't need like a whole new set of 6-month-old clothes.
Onesies.
Onesies or all these like foo-foo, big poofy dresses that they could take and look cute on pictures. No, we need survival. So think, what will I need? What will I not be able to do? It may look like, you know what, gift me a laundry service. Gift me a housekeeper that could just come and help do the dishes. Gift me, groceries, right? Like weekly grocery service, right? Think those things even before the baby comes. Now, when the baby comes, really, this is where we ditch perfectionism as moms, right? Your life is about to be different. You just brought a whole new human being into the world, right? So focus on enjoying as much as possible, and also still focus on caring for yourself. Make sure you don't lose your routines, even if you have to modify them. Make sure that, you're making sure that even when the baby, people talk about, sleep when the baby sleeps. I know that is, it's impossible.
People say that a lot.
People say that, but maybe rest when the baby is sleeping and just let the dishes be. It will be fine, right? Maybe just kick your legs up a little, step outside for a walk, because when you step outside, it helps your mood, your exercising, and you're actually exposing your baby to light, which can actually help their sleep over the long term. And then again, it's pets. If you have someone that shares the responsibility in caring for that baby with you, then this is where you guys are going to play tag team. Maybe someone takes a shift at night so that one person sleeps through at least for a longer stretch, and somebody wakes up and feeds the baby. Maybe you pump that breast milk and say, okay, at a 3 a.m. shift, you're gonna give the baby the bottle so that I could get like a longer stretch of sleep. So it's really working together, knowing it's not going to be perfect, knowing you're not going to get enough sleep, most likely not, but trying to consolidate it as best as possible. So I hope those are just some tips that help.
Yeah, that was some great information, I think. And, there was, I had a couple of other questions, but, if you, why don't I ask one of those, and then maybe if you have time to just briefly touch base on the last, or you know what, let's do it the other way around. Briefly touch base on the third aspect. It was kind of a comment, but maybe I heard a little question in there.
Yes. So yes, I'm here to let you know that taking naps is absolutely fine. And especially if you feel good about it. You know what? You've served, you're retired. This is the time to just take it easy, enjoy the fruits of your labor. So I just wanted to validate you. But that being said, I want you to step back and say, okay, why do I need a nap? Am I needing a nap because I am not getting enough sleep at night? Or am I needing a nap because, I just feel a little bit tired, and it's part of my self-care. And if you have trouble sleeping at night, you have insomnia, for instance, where you get into bed and you're up all night, you're tossing and turning, and because of that, you're taking a nap during the day, then I would rather we work on getting your sleep better over the night, as that will be our primary focus, right? But if you're just waking up early at 4 a.m., around this time, especially for folks that are retired, it's actually pretty common. You sort of shift from being, maybe when you were younger, you were a night owl. And now you kind of shift, and you're now almost like a morning lark. And so you almost become a morning person. We call this an advancement in your internal clock, where you may notice you're feeling more tired earlier in the evening versus later. And if you've gotten enough sleep, usually by 65, the recommended hours of sleep actually changes a little bit, and it's anywhere from about 6 to about 9 hours. So if you're getting that sleep, if you're taking a little nap during the day and it's not affecting your nighttime sleep, please keep going. But if that's not the case, then we want to really work on getting your sleep as consolidated as possible. So it's really listening to your body.
We have one more caller that we'll have to try to, be as concise as we can to get in her question and the response. But why don't we bring on Diane from South Philly? Thanks for calling in, Diane.
How are you, doctors? I can't say your name, so I'm going to say doctors. I'm really enjoying this program. I really do. I'm going to be real quick. I was like going to bed any time of night and all that stuff. So a couple of months ago, I started changing I started getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, but I go to bed at 10 o'clock, and I take me a good, nice hot bath and put some lavender, salt in my tub, and, nice pajamas, and I've been feeling so good. It's like I could go all day now. I used to be so tired during the day, but now I'm not tired during the day. And, back in the days, our elders always went to bed early. When one went to bed, everybody went to bed around 9 o'clock, so things change.
Dr. Funke, do you have a comment about that? Because I'm hearing some healthy sleep habits that it sounds like she kind of, organically came up with.
Yeah, no, brilliant. That is perfect. You did the exact right thing. The consistency, listening to your body, having the routines, those are the hallmarks, honestly, of good sleep hygiene. Really doing something to feed your body with the lavender and all that. It's all really good. And And your body likes it, and that's why you get good sleep. So keep up the good work.
And I want to say one more thing about babies. I have 4. And, you know, back in the day, the elders came and helped you, your mother or your auntie, or they came and helped us. And, that, you know, I was able to get help, all 4 of them. But, you know, 6 weeks, you know, you have to go back
Diane,
to work.
We all have so much to share, and I'm so grateful that you called in. I wanted to.
I'm so sorry, but thank you.
Thank you
You're
so much.
welcome.
Dr. Afolabi-Brown, this obviously, you know, people are really energized by this conversation. And thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us this afternoon. Can you share with the audience how people can reach you, you know, find out more information?
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. So you could go to my website. It's restfulsleepmd.com. That's restfulsleepmd.com. I'm also on Instagram and on Facebook as Restful Sleep MD. And, you know, we talked about sleep hygiene. I actually have a very, very concise worksheet that you can download straight from my website, really talking about those healthy sleep habits to set you up for sleep success. And I have a practice where I do see children and young adults with sleep problems. So, you know, you could make an appointment to see me in my practice as well.
Okay, so you've got to reach out to the Restful Sleep MD to go to help take this exhausted to energized journey to the next level. So thanks again so much for joining us. We're going to shift gears to our next segment, the Policy and Women segment, where we sit at that intersection of policy and its impact on our health. Again, you're tuned in live to the Her Health Matters radio show with Dr. Safiyya Shabazz on WURD 900 AM, 96.1 FM, and we're delighted to welcome the next guest, Angelique Hinton, Executive Director of PA Youth Vote. In 2020, she became a regional organizer for My School Votes, a part of Michelle Obama's organization, When We All Vote, whose mission is to reduce the age and race gap in voting. During the 2020 election cycle, Angie worked with extraordinary students from across the state to help register eligible voters and get them ready for the presidential election. She's currently co-leading PA Youth Vote, a nonpartisan collaboration of students, educators, and organizations working to elevate student voices and empower Pennsylvania youth as civic actors. She's a board member of Expressive Path and Community Hero Action Group as well, and she serves as the president of the Norristown NAACP. Angelique, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for coming on. Can you share more about the mission and vision of PA Youth Vote and the impact you aim to make in the realm of youth civic engagement?
Sure. So basically, what we really try to do is help make voting relevant for young people, really to help connect the dots for them between the issues that they care about and the importance of participation civically. And so whether it be voting, learning how to hold leaders accountable, as well as advocacy for themselves in the community, we really spend a lot of time providing voter education because back in 2020, when I did work for Michelle Obama's organization, most of the teachers said to me they didn't really need help with voter registration. They needed help with educating the students as to why they should be voting. So we try to provide that why.
Okay, awesome. Considering the work of PA Youth Vote, how can policies at the local and state levels address disparities in civic engagement? Because I think that's what you're talking about, that engagement piece, particularly among young African American women, and ensure that their voices are heard.
So first it starts with, inequitable access to this education, right? So depending if you are in schools in some of the more affluent communities, they're getting this information, they're getting this education, and they've seen government work, right? So really, it's really doing what we can to advocate that schools have policies where they are required to provide voter education to their students, so that that's accessible. And then, of course, at the highest level, at the state, we have a terrible inequitable funding issue. And so really holding leaders accountable in Harrisburg to funding our schools equitably will also do a lot to ensure there are actually resources for teachers to provide the civics that our students need to be, taught.
Thanks so much for the work that you're doing. Can you dive a little deeper into the role that PA Youth Vote is playing in engaging the young people in this political process, and maybe share some notable outcomes or successes from your efforts?
So we do a number of different ways go into schools and engage. And so sometimes it looks like a one-time presentation where we go into the school, we talk about what's on the ballot. Each election cycle, right, we go in and we talk about what's on the ballot, and then we'll do a voter registration with the students, right, and then provide resources they can use to figure out who, the candidates are, where they should vote, all of those things. Other times we have more where we give them a little more love, we like to say, and so we'll go in a number of times and really have different courses that we go in and teach them. And so, and then the last thing is oftentimes too, we work with a lot of youth focused community organizations in Philadelphia. And so where they may be addressing certain issues or mentoring around certain issues, we will then come in and bring the civics component, tie it to that issue and help them understand, again, the importance of holding leaders accountable to addressing those issues, and then different ways to do it. So we've paid students to learn how to write op-eds, as an example. We do a lot of community engagement events that are directly for young people. That include young people. Our digital media is constantly thinking of ways to really, educate and activate young people. And then I'll speak a little bit about our biggest event this year, which was amazing. Annually, we do a early vote day event. And so National Early Vote Day is in November or October this year, 26. And so we work with the school district, the commissioners, the Office of Youth Engagement in the Mayor's Office in Philadelphia, and a lot of different other organizations to come together on that day. We register students, we have them fill in, those that want to vote early, fill in mail-in ballots, the commissioners process them, and then the students are bused down to Love Park on that day, and they literally shut down the city because they march them around City Hall with a drum line. And then we have students vote early that day. We have a lineup of students speaking to the importance of policy and why they think voting matters for them. And so this past year we had 400 students, just about 9 schools, and it was absolutely amazing. We had Diamond Cuts come and DJ.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's really, really powerful.
And fun, where it's
right.
really impactful and fun, something that they would love to engage in. So how can our listeners get involved or support your work?
So they can go to our website and reach out if they're interested in just trying to help us connect. If they're interested in volunteering, payoutvote.org is our website, and also on all our social media channels. Also, if you're working with young people and you really want to help provide that connection for them around issues or whatever you're mentoring them around, reach out to us. We would love to partner. We're huge on collaboration. And so that's also, reach out to us at payoutvote.org. And then, we would love to come out and work with. And then also, if you know any teachers, direct them to our website, because again, the struggle is always, we can get into these schools that are more resourced, but those neighborhood schools in Philadelphia that are serving the most underserved communities, they just have so much on their shoulders. And so sometimes if you can help us connect to them, we can go in and show them how we can really kind of take this off of their plate, because we'll educate students and they'll do the work and get paid. So
okay, awesome. So you heard it here. PAYouth.org is where PAYouthVote.org is where you're going to go for more information. Thank you so much, Angie, for joining us for today's segment. And we wish you and PA Youth Vote continued success and all that you do to get out the vote, especially with our young people. So we are high speed moving into our last segment, Making Moves, where we share health-related activities that you may be interested in around Pennsylvania. And we're happy to announce that the 4th annual Pennsylvania Black Health Matters Conference is scheduled for April 10th through April 13th, 2024. This year's theme is centered around mental wellness, release and restore. The goal of this year's conference is to release the stigma commonly related to mental wellness and restore mental wellness both individually and within our communities. April 13th will be Health in Action Day, where we will have DJ Diamond Cuts. You heard Angie mention DJ Diamond Cut. She will be there in Vernon Park on April 13th, and we want to see you there. So go ahead and make sure you follow Community Hero on our social media channels at Community Hero PA to keep up to date on all of the exciting activities planned for a conference that is for the community, inspired by the community. Block your calendars and remember that this conference is absolutely free. So it is time to bring this episode to a close. The producer of this show is Community Hero Action Group, a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to closing gaps in health and wealth disparities in the Black community. If you want to get involved with the work that Community Hero Action Group does, such as this radio show or its many other initiatives, visit the website at communityheropa.org or email us at contactus@communityheropa.org. It takes all of us to get this work done. I'd like to thank the executive producer of Her Health Matters, Nicole Keels-McGruder, the founder and chief operating officer of Community Hero Action Group. And of course, thanks to today's technical producer, Ms. Rhonda Gibson, and thank you for your question. We are out of time. We had such great callers. Thank you for tuning in to Her Health Matters. Join us next month on the 4th Saturday for another episode dedicated to creating positive health and wellness outcomes in our community. I'm your host, Dr. Safiyya Shabazz, signing off for today's episode. Until next time, be healthy, be you, because your health matters. Peace.